San Francisco Public Library acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Mamatash Ohlone peoples, and the Berkeley Public Library acknowledges that we are on the ancestral homeland of the Chochenyo Ohlone. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homelands.
Thank you, Stuart. Sorry, folks, can you hear that double? No? Okay, all right, so thank you, Stuart. Mr. Clark's book is published by the Black woman-owned Pacific Raven Press and edited by Carla Brundage, who is here to talk about this special publishing collaborative and introduce the readers who will start us off.
Thank you, Shauna. I'm here, so honored to be here. I had the pleasure of working with Donté as he went through the process of publishing this book. And I'd like to introduce, we have two readers coming tonight to share their works. And one of them, we are honored to have Catherine Takara, who is the founder of Pacific Raven Press. You're muted.
I thought I was unmuted. No? Do I need to? Okay. So I'm going to share with you a few words, a poem actually, about words that I wrote in my small publication. I've done about 9 books, but this one is called Footprints, Wings, Phantasms. Oh, yeah. Okay, and it's just a little pocket book. And the poem that I'd like to share is Strength in Words. Writers, wordfully transform readers, knowledge, significance, historical perceptions profound and deepening. Writers expose forgotten footprints within the hurl to progress. Writers discover essence in stories, laughter, dream time among abandoned desks and chests. Forgotten lives are hidden in journals, old photos stored in secret drawers, histories dropped in pristine crystal vases and in cracked and broken jars. Writers dislodge words, stymied in tongues, stuffed in noses, in throats, camouflaged, yoni, their meaning hidden behind earlobes and knees, in between fingers and toes. Words reveal passages to the womb and to heaven. The moon inspires, sings a secret of feminine identity, reflects fertility on Earth's organic skin. Writers, strength in words. I just want to say a couple of words about Pacific Raven Press. I'll read from kind of a summary. We, Pacific Raven Press, publish manuscripts that motivate change and reflection, support diversity, and envision and promote harmony and balance to the world. We are a leader in innovative perspectives through the written word. We help the prospective author to publish original work that includes a few of the following genres: Africana, memoir, poetry, politics. We also consider motivational and/or self-help manuscripts that may be transformative. So consider us when you consider publishing. I know there are lots of writers out there, and we have a website. Maybe I'll get it into the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Our second reader to celebrate Dante's book, Caskets, which we can't wait to hear about more, is Makita, Mama Makita, Sandra Hooper Mayfield. Makita, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to, I was thinking about what to read today, and it's just something that I need to keep close to my heart. It started writing about it in 2014. I'm in a chokehold. My hands are cuffed. A knee's in my back, but that's not enough. I gotta die so you can claim tough. Somebody scream for me. Somebody please, they're holding me down and I can't breathe. No life-saving antics, no bringing me back, just die, nigga, die. You ain't nothing, just black. Somebody scream for me. Somebody please, they're holding me down and I can't breathe. Stalking my children, my wife, my life, still lynching and hating, saying, hang him high from a tree. Don't you know I know you fear me? You think I don't know that you long to be me? Truth is, you're the slave and you don't want to be free. Somebody scream for me. Somebody please. They're holding me down and I can't breathe. And mama, seems whatever I do, I'm making you cry. Mama, I'm crying too. I'm crying from trying every day not to die. Single cigarettes for sale and dignity too. For this, I'm dying. So tired of crying and living the lie that black men ain't trying. They just want to die to be dying. Somebody scream for me. Somebody please. They're holding me down. It's 2020. My name is George and nothing has changed. Same black, same attack, same white, same fight, same stealing my breath, same choke to death and updated lynching without a noose. They're all in cahoots. I called my mama too, and every mama in and out of the world heard my cry. Set me free, just let me die. And I could feel my mama right here in my heart saying, let go, son, suffer no more. Your new life is just past the door. And she whispered every black mama's prayer. The street lights are on, George. You get home right now. And there's nothing else to say about that. But I have one little thing left. It's called homeless. I see beautiful, mature women in the community. They're my age. Born in the hopeful 1950s, teenagers of the revolutionary 1960s, they take real good care of themselves and they are higher educated and proper. Some call it class. They marry and stay married. They show up to important community events and religiously bring their yoga mats to class. They are usually quiet and reserved and tidy and orderly and sanitized. They go to buildings to see God. They wear wraps and hats and would never wear blouses that show off their shoulders or skirts that flirt around the hem. Me, I wear purple when the color of the day is pink. I sleep in clothes sometimes, then wear them the next day if I feel like it. I fell in love with a man who liked my morning scent and another who was just sitting on a bench. And through the years, anything that's about love brings me to tears. When my heart aches with love, I'm pure shine. I'm a caterpillar and a butterfly over and over and over again. My hope is to dance one more dance, to sing a song without perfect pitch like a bird, to live, to give new birth to a soul, a poem, or myself, to experience things so beautiful it hurts, to drown in joy and be naked in the face of truth. This is the world I could live. Where in the world can I live? Homeless in America.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Makita. Thank you, Catherine. That line you said, drown and be naked and drown in the spirit of truth. Working on Donté Clark's book, and also the first poem you read, Mama Makita. Really, Donté, I'm so honored to have the words you bring, which bring the violence and the death, as well as the healing. So, so many of the poems in this book made me cry, not because of sadness, but because of the truth you were telling. So I'm going to pass it to Shauna to introduce Donté Clark. Thank you so much to our readers, Catherine and Makita.
Thank you to our readers, and apologies to everyone else for the little mix up in the beginning. I agree with Carla. This book is so powerful, and we're so grateful to have Donté Clark here to be reading with us. You are in for a treat. So I'll give a brief introduction. Donté Clark, AKA DONBLAK, a native of Richmond, California, captures the complexities of being vulnerable within Black masculinity while governed by a society of white supremacy and hyperviolence amongst Black youth. In 2008, he co-founded an arts collective called Raw Talent, Richmond Artists With Talent. In 2013, he published a co-written play entitled Tay's Harmony, which documents Richmond youth while making parallels to Romeo and Juliet, which was also documented in the film Romeo Is Bleeding and was executive produced by Russell Simmons on All Deaf Digital in 2017. Clark is featured in a film Kicks 2016, and in 2018, he co-starred in 2 seasons of The North Pole, a political comedy about gentrification in Oakland, California. His first collection of poetry, KNOWFREEDOM, was published in 2008. It's my pleasure in welcoming Donté Clark.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate y'all for being here. Hold on, can y'all hear me? My audio cool? I sound good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, for sure. Wow. The more I talk about this book, or the more I read it for myself, I discover a lot that's up in there that has been said, a lot that I haven't shared yet. And as I reflect on the times that we living in and what's going on, I don't even know everything that's been happening, but I just want to say before I start any piece, rest in peace to Donté Wright. You feel me? My mind is scattered. I got some scattered thoughts. I got a list of pieces that I may or may not share. But you feel me? I thank y'all for being here. We gonna freestyle it a little bit as usual. All right. What I want to do. I'm gonna do a song if I can remember it. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, ooh, sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I was posted on the block in the bay, watching my kind fade away. Ooh, ooh, posted on the block in the bay, wasted mine. I was high sitting early sunrise Richmond with some of my kindred sipping, reminiscent about when we were children outside empty buildings, feeling all of the feelings of living under no ceilings. Yeah, wish to prevail, no work under fingernails. So we inhale to escape while we inhale was stale, dry well, impaled by corner cells. I'm replaying my L's. I wear my public fails with yells and random screaming, dealing with inner demons keep leaving out of my body. I probably won't see a reason for breathing on any longer. Faded, almost a goner. I want to go to them heavenly gates. If not the case, I just sit on the dock and just wait. I imagine brass men with brass skin lagged on the drag of the evils. Sidewalk huddle with their people's feeble in spirit. A gazing stock on Broadway. You know the sight. Doing what niggas do all day, ass chasing and fast pacing. We hand them out, forever standing out of spiritual drought. We left the heavenly house to go snore on the devil's couch. Street life, we call it. Paving way for new day, murderous thieves and alcoholics. Holics. Posted on the block in the bay. Knowing my time, I can fade today. Ooh, posted on the block in the bay. This rage of mine. Yes, quite usual. See it like nothing new to you. Limited to these cubicles, circle corners like hula hoops. Hard knock was a school of you. Thugging from wound to funeral. Gang case on my cuticles, making poverty beautiful. Yeah. Overgrinded. Knowing that time is winding backwards on our shining. So we invest in diamonds. I'm trying, but I'll be lying, pretending that all is dying. Don't have me clutching that iron to keep my from crying while I am my suit. Woo. Staying in my new suit, poverty new suits, sitting on the block in the bay, watching my kind fade away. Ooh, posted on the block with a K, this rage of mine. It's like being born black, bearing blues by brothers buried beneath bridges, burned bodies belittled before becoming better, beyond broken but believing. Because brotherhood builds beautiful bonds, bypassing bullies, Billy Bats, beating blacks, backbone breaking, burdened by balancing books, bullets, bricks, bearing blocks blown by bombs, billowing blues, Billy Blue before back bus boy, cotton brunk benefits be barely breathing. Between blitz, brought by Babylonians, Baphomet's biopics be blackberries bent below bulky branches, bruh, sitting on a block in the bay. Watching my kind fade away. There was an explosion of lead that erupted his body to blood memory. All of his life cut down to seconds of booms. It was smoky air and shrieking tires that twirled through stoplights as the engine cut corners, leaving a drunk night to plop its weight on the silence. Before a concert of sirens, the body's gold teeth stained with a current drip, spilling cries for mama out of his left cheek into the ears of the concrete. A red coat over the petals of young flowers stemming through to be watered by blood. Sitting on a block in the bay, watching my kind fade away. Cause they orgasm when they kill us, yeah. Show me a news clip with our face down and our ass up, with our legs spread open and wet, twitching and moaning, with our eyes rolling back as we take it. And there you'll see on the screen, seduced by your ears, that you are an addict consumer of media porn, the orgy of buck rearing. When these white folks reach into their pants and pull out their loaded pipes on camera with the world watching American streets, these whites be like, fucking niggas. Yeah, fuck these niggas. And they mean it too, to see us lying in the street, and they aim to kill. Pray for the blocks, the streets, the corners that drip at the head from the lives of men that pours down the sideburns like hot oil on a coarse scalp. Pray for the neighborhoods that sit between the legs of a tired city, that's harsh spoken and brash, with heavy hands combing swiftly through thick waves of African roots, forcibly brushing out the indigenous kinks and kuka bugs, napping and curled in the back of the mind, familiar like mom's and pop's kitchen. Pray, I say pray for the concrete, for the cracks that blister dry like chapped lips and teeth sharp as bullets that chew down skin, gnawing its beauty of black to raw pink. Pray for Friday nights that gather the shots and have not been proven to be bulletproof. When the night rises, our suns fall. I say pray for moons who slither to slim to full again, ministering at twilight, praised holy by a congregation of mourners, howling from the hollow streets and front port pews in the wee hours of service, between the cycling of blunt offerings and Hennessy ties. Who can count the sinner's hands that are a loud clap of amens, shouts and stomps when loved on? Feel their spirit, talking in tongues from the touch of bullets. You know, I was driving 2 hours south to the countryside of California, and beneath the morning clouds, I'm standing in the rain in red mud with the white man at the back of his truck, helping him to unload his box of pistols and rifles and bullets. We was out for a day of shooting targets, falling in love with the metal discharge and fire, projectile through flesh of blue paper. The gun smoke and wet rocks caught the wind. I started to record my pistol play, but I said, nah. Nobody needs to see that I've been out here shooting. Because if it ever come the time for me to be shooting, whoever I'm shooting at gonna know for sure that I'm pretty good at shooting. But then, you know, after a full day of pistol play and driving back to where phones get service, you are alerted to the buzz and vibration of missed messages and voicemails. You skim through the names as you drive and wonder why so many calls. You make a mental note to call back later, then the calls come ringing again. And some calls be back to back, too many from some names who don't call often too much anyway, so you answer. And sometimes on this type of call, it be your sister who be calling to tell you about that thing again. You know, that thing about somebody killing somebody else in Richmond, and have you heard? Only this time that somebody else is that somebody you love who somebody had just killed. So you cry with too much roll back home before you, with the type of music that puts you in all of the feelings, not with the type of music that puts you in all of the feelings for not having no feelings about killing. And your mind is turning like the speeding tires you speed with, and your hands are remembering its full day of pistol play. And you say to yourself, this song hits different when you sitting on the block in the bay, watching your kind fade away. Ooh, posted on the block in the bay, a wasted mind. But yo, check it. I don't care if you bear arms, the size and strength of bear arms. If you ain't got the heavenly power to tower over you when they bear arms, then your sad mama and all the windows and widows on your dilapidated street gonna have to eyeball your beautiful body, shake and leak out all of her motherly dreams for you and her arms, bare arms. You damn fool. But we just poor people, penny pinching and panhandling prayers for per diems, prefer pushing and peddling, prostituting to participate in purchasing the presence of past time. Just a pathological pathway of the proud, from peasant to pedestal. You know, it's the pain of my people who pretentiously post photos of prized possessions and paper pendants, Porsches and pistols. The perpetual penury of particular parenting that preludes to pee-popping and parking lot pimping. A plethora of portraits from Parchester to Philadelphia, Patron porn, parading poison to preteens while police patrolling. These project parties are a paradigm of pagan pandemoniums. We pose as positive, preach prolific, but be petty. I say petty, proclaiming peace with no prosperity. They say protest, 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 until popped by projectile. We pause, then protest. Must be the prey of politics, performers of propaganda, pupils of predictive programming, and pages and pages and pages of paragraphs, papers by poets and professors philosophizing and pleading against mass promotion of the piercing parables of our poverty, paying for profits, perhaps. Anyhow, it's just my personal perspective from the piece. But you know, some say, supposedly, that the sweet silence and spiritual scourging should starve out the source of our stupidity, that the scraping of sin and savagery soaked in our skin is somehow the set services of a southern system, sustained as slavers, self-said superiors to susceptible servants, said to slaves, seed to seed, season to season, shore to shore, slaves, saved by slave ship. That's something scary, huh? Such a sad story and a surplus of suffering for the swarthy. So my strongest suggestions to you students is to stay strapped. I mean, sharp, smart, stand tall, sturdy, and speak seldomly. Sometimes sacrificing speech saves the sheep from the suffer of the sickle. Sometimes separating self from show off, showboating, and such silliness may salvage some sewage soul surrounded by silhouette of sinking ships and sharpshooters shooting of 7.6 tools. Sure, some say it's safe to slip through the shadows, sidestepping snares and study. Just stay studying. Yet studying don't solve sorrows, and scratching surfaces, shucking and stuttering, slumped shoulders sounds like straight sucker shit. I mean, stupid. Shucking and stooping for stipends and statues are now suspended. So I say stand straight, stay solid. If study, then study scripture. 7 sunsets straight, seeking the sure shalom of Shiloh. So you can escape thinking the thoughts that trauma teaches the thinking. Because they trying to train those of us that's thoroughbred to talk tersely and timid, to teeter till teetering teaches us to trace to the third trace of Tyler, to be tripping and tumbling 10,000 times till we're tossed over to the tango of taunting tales that's told to us about their tenacious taboos, the tragic track list, the torture that's tattooed and the thrust in trials, trekking with tribulations always there to twist and touch the torsos of us talented 10, the targeted, the 10 toes of the toughest teenagers traumatized from the terrible tactics that the tyrannical task force used to tame us by torch. They're attempting to tear through our time.
Woohoo!
But we will overcome their nights by fire, pour into streets with spewing heat, igniting a falling sky, tequila sunset, because there was nowhere to hide. All souls and soil purged together. And we knew this day would come. We've prayed and waited, murky waters aside, bloated babies and charred bones, craving the taste of this jubilee, because peaceful protesting stirred a war cry, holding signs while kneeling down, only gotten us shot, jailed, or vanished. There is no way around it. With no justice, peace escapes us. America, you are an evil child, born rotten, bursting with a belly of flies, who only have a taste for killing, out of options and nothing left. The price for our freedom is death. But we overcome their nights by fire, carry our weight with bleeding knuckles through the flames, seeking to redeem. We knew this day would come, leaping over ashes of Mount Rushmore with my heart making noise within me. These heavy sounds are pulling for new tears, to submerge earth a holy baptism, forsaken seedless vines of strange fruit for an endless bite out of heaven. With parched lips, we will sit numb. The sun and moon will cover their eyes, untying our souls. We will mourn deeply, and our tears will walk on the wind. And in prayer, we will uplift those that's dead, remembering each soul precious and unique as black sand kissing the sea, with iron yokes removed and tables turned. Though the memories of what happens haunts, but we knew this day would come. Thank you.
Woohoo! Let's unmute everyone. Woohoo! Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I couldn't stop myself from cheering, but this is such an amazing reading.
I almost kept going. I'll be feeling like, yeah, the time. It'd be like something.
Donté.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I guess I could just talk a little bit about what inspired this, because I don't think I talk about it enough. What inspired this book is about last year around the summertime. I say like around April, May, when you start seeing a lot of the protesting that was going on. You start hearing about who was killed and who was not charged or convicted for the killings, and you seeing a lot of people in the street, and you seeing people protest, and just me feeling like, and there are so many things that I want to say. I feel like there's so many ways I want to get involved, but honestly, sometimes I just feel tired and drained from constantly doing the same thing for the past 75 years. It's just trying to figure out, like, how can I show up? How can I be present as an author? What can I say that hasn't already been said? You know what I mean? From the first Negro spiritual all the way up until whatever hip hop song you could think of, is like, what can I say that haven't already been said, already been chanted, shouted, screamed, danced? And I realized, was like, man, you know what? I have a lot of anger. I have a lot of things that I haven't overcame internally, as far as like the trauma that I've experienced. I feel like I've always focused so much on how can I show up for others? How can I show up for the world? And then this was an opportunity where I really felt silent. I didn't really know what to say or how to say it. And it was like, you need to process your own trauma first. And through that, let that lead you to what's next, to the next level or platform of, because I can't be useful if I still got things that I'm dealing with, you know what I mean? So I had to take that time over the summer to just sit with myself and just ask myself some questions about, you know, people in my lives and who have passed and things like that. So Closed Caskets really represent for me an opportunity to move forward, an opportunity to look at life and death as both one, because sometimes, you know, death produces life. And so just had to process that whole situation about loved ones that I had in my life and just where I want to be. And that's kind of like what inspired it. And I feel like it was still a lot of pieces that I wanted to write that it was just very difficult to write. And I wasn't sure how much I wanted to give to this first collection, Closed Caskets. So I put enough in there that'll help me move forward as an artist and as a person. But it's so much more that I would like to say. And it's so much more that I feel like needs to be said. I'm just trying to figure out when and how to say it. But I'll say that for the next collection that I'm working on.
I'd like to say thank you for your courage, just to write these kinds of things from your very deep personal experiences and those around you. My first cousin was 21, and he was, we were in a college community in Tuskegee, Alabama, and he was shot in the back of the head for trying to go into a white bathroom right in right with the civil rights movement and all of that, 1966. And of course, the man was not charged except one night in jail. And I continue to see in courageous ones like you that the story is still going on. I mean, it's no matter how you say it, no matter how your heart and your soul express it, it's something that continues to plague our community, and at the same time perhaps create new strengths, new birth, new ways to be. And words, I mean, they're abstract in a sense, but in another sense, they can touch emotional levels and identification with the writer, the poet, the human that you are and that you express, with a focus on Blacks. But, you know, people around the world can relate to this kind of thing, of violence and injustice. And I just wanted to say thank you. I don't want to talk too much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I want to say something. I want to say just thank you for always bringing the naked truth. That's you know, when I think about what your poetry brings is straight up truth, and I love that. And like you, it's like it's nothing left to say. It's nothing left to say, and I feel like though that the breath that is behind the powerful words is where the power lies. The breath behind the words, and that you are the light. You are the light. You are what we've been waiting on. And when we give life to and breath to what we are called to, it changes the world. And that's what I see you doing. And I just want you to know that every day, every time I think about you, every time I think about your work, I'm sending you Mama Wata energy. And you just keep moving forward because you're the light.
Thank you, Mama Makita. I appreciate it. Every time I talk to you, it's always inspiring, encouraging, and just endearing. You know what I mean? I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to also thank you so much for this beautiful reading, how the poems connect and create a narrative, and yet how each poem is its individual art piece is something that really moved me in working with you on this book. I'd love for you to read some pieces about Coo Daddy, if you have the wherewithal. I'm here with my mother, and you know, those family connections are so deep and they shape us. Also letting the audience know that something so beautiful and wonderful about Donté Clark is his activism and his dedication to community. He, through Mama Makita, came to Pacific Raven Press because he said he wanted to work with a Black woman-owned press. But he also said, I don't care about the big names. I just want to reach my community. My community is the most important audience I have. And this honest openness towards really connecting with community is so astonishing to me, placing your ego aside. So Donté has done a lot of work in prisons. He continues to do things that are unbelievably amazing, to push forward this need to put our guns down over and over. That's what he's trying to say. So Donté, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about some of the activism you're doing. If you're in the audience, please put your questions in the chat. And if you have the wherewithal to read Coo Daddy, I'll be so happy.
I'm gonna read probably like 2 or 3 pieces from the saga Coo Daddy, and just for those who know or don't know who got the book, it's a section up in here called Coo Daddy. It's about like like a 5-part story that is inspired off of my real father, my biological father. His name is Donald Clark. People in the streets call him Spunk, but it's a certain group of people call him Coo Daddy. And when I was a little kid, that's just what I heard them call him. And it's like, I'm gonna do more on him, but I'm gonna just share what I wrote about him, just thinking about his life growing up. And this is what I wrote inspired off of him. I believe this is part 3, and it's called Coo Daddy Before Cool. Born in 59, the offspring of a Tennessee waltz and ashy knuckles, there was a summer day that brought forth a boy, benevolent, black, and blooming with a silky spirit, medley of fire and rain. On the collarbone of the 60s, I could imagine the mind of Coo Daddy then as a child, just a boy growing into whirlwind and mud floods of North Richmond under segregated skies, chasing sidewalks to catch the dreams, escaping his bones, priming his gentle to the rasp of coal, while hiding the depths of his sapphire blue, to be held in the streets of North Richmond as the poet of secrets. Coo Daddy becoming cool. Since 68 summer nights, there has been a fright look over your shoulder that appears to be praying for another day to run while living in life of footsteps in the dark. It's the tales of tales that keep tailing me through the margins of poverty's parables that periled you to the hunger pains of ghetto child, lost and looking out the window of a broken home, with no axe to grind in a mean old world that left you spoiled, slowly trekking towards freedom further up on down the road. Housed to forever suffering through the vamping shadows of underground. But how slick to maneuver the sewers of black stabbers as steady as you were with a solid rock posted at the end of a junkie chase for the fire and smoke taste it takes for flying high. And as they twitched and clawed at the night, you were searching for some type of miracle. Even as the little child running wild when the world was at peace with being syphilis and shady, jealous type of people you knew, to listen to the clock on the wall as something to believe in. A black Caesar outline with the sunshine and leather skin, known to go for your guns, but preferred to cruise, controlled within such a mellow mood. What allure for their eyes to check out your mind. In my time, I only knew of Cool Daddy's cool before I ever met Superfly, before I understood the blood sweat creased in your fingertips and the heavy that dragged in your eyes when the night had beat at your heart and chased you solemn with the trouble blues. Unaware, I only knew you as Cool Daddy. Just 5'10" of stoic obsidian, built like prison, complex, like arms of cedarwood, chest of ivory, Murray's grease sleeked on a dip of wave currents beneath a black slanted wave cap, beanie fold hold the cigarette behind the wheel, thumbing through hundreds of $100 bills, steering on the highway with your knees while speeding. Back when money was dirty and paid for Christmas, summer trips, and school clothes. Before I became a prophetic bullet discharged from the chamber of Spunk's barrel. There is a child that still mourns behind the cool in the midst of the shake, rattle, and roll of a fool's paradise. You know, we was sitting in the car waiting for Cool Daddy to emerge from the blue tarp that swings low over the metal gate to the back of the blue house. The sun beginning to surrender its glory to the Pacific while Shani and I fight with our stomachs. With a cool stride and heavy plop into the driver's seat, a turn of the key and the brown Benz roars. Shani, my sister, speaks with a mother's tongue. What took you so long? I'm ready to go. My pop say, y'all hungry? Want some McDonald's or something? Shani, a burst of hunger and eager for forgiveness, names choice options for her Happy Meal. I too am hungry, but more so burning with the question. Hey, Daddy, why all your friends ain't got no teeth? For a long time, he laughed real tears. Cool, Daddy.
I have a question in the chat. Thank you for that. So there's a question from somebody who's read Know Freedom. It says, wonderful to see letters in the Hebrew letters in the 2018 publication of Know Freedom. For me, it's cosmic, religiously resonant, gateway to order the contents. And they'd like to hear about your intentions for using those letters.
Oh, wow. Those letters was just representing for me the 5 stages of grief, and just like you know, just connecting back to the roots of how everything begins, you know, just coming up from a Christian background, just understanding that once I read scriptures and understand that how it's taught to us in the English is not necessarily what it says in the Hebrew. And then once I connect back to the Hebrew and I see it so much more meaning in the Hebrew, and once I see it so much more in the Hebrew that connects to the culture of quote unquote African Americans, I just felt the connection to that, and I wanted to put that up in there, just like those numbers, those letters, the aleph representing the ox, representing the power, the strong power, the I can't remember what was up in there, but when I was writing it, I was like, I want to structure each chapter of the book with that letter that represents a particular type of power. And I think 5 represents grace, and just grace and mercy. And so for the 5th chapter, or the 5 stages of grief, you want to get to this place of shalom, or this place of peace, this place of freedom, this place of awareness, this place of recognizing like, wow, I went through all of these different obstacles and I have now arrived at this place. So each letter represents a number, and each number represents a particular type of personality and energy that conveys the message of you have to go through these cycles in life. And it's power behind numbers. And that was just my way of doing it. I could have easily labeled the chapters as 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, but I wanted to do something that I felt like would stand out. And I kind of wanted to see if who would catch up on that. And yeah, somebody caught up on that. So that's cool.
Awesome. It sounds like sort of sounds like your note to readers in the beginning of the book, where you said that the idea of closed caskets is to remind, challenge, and encourage all ears to unbusy themselves and to seek silence in order to hear our true selves and speak.
Right. Right. And I feel like closed caskets is like a follow-up to Know Freedom, because Know Freedom starts off in the 1st chapter of saying like, wow, if you ask me how I feel, I probably smile and tell you fine. Then you'll walk away satisfied, not knowing that I was lying, not knowing that I was hiding behind this grin on my face with these evil thoughts running through my mind. Waking up every day wanting to get away, just thinking and wishing I wasn't alive. You see, I try to stay tough. I keep my head up but get fed up and ask why. the hell I go through so much. It's like I'm feeling that life. Man, how and what I'm feeling at times too difficult for me to describe. Let's just say it's a mixture of anger and hate, happiness, smiles, cries, joy, frustration. Self-esteem is my complication on why I can't succeed and be all that I can be. Pursue the things we call dreams because I don't think that I have it in me. Sometimes I feel so alone, don't have a place to go to or call home. I go left because I can't get right, or I sit stagnant because I ain't got no backbone. Man, I love the thought of peace and quiet, but at times can act a beast. I'm violent because all the emotions that runs through me gets my temperature rising. I done held so much in, it gets to a point that I explode without realizing. Oh, how I feel, you ask? Oh, me, I'm just fine. But I only say that to see if you really cared enough to read between the lines and all the signs and shows when a person is hurting inside. But then again, you probably knew about them and kept on with your life and never thought about them twice. That was the first real poem that I wrote when I was 17 years old, called How I Feel. And it was inspired off of me sitting next to this white boy in summer school in English class. And he had this big hole in the front of his shoes, and I could see his socks, but on the outward side, he was just so joyous and smiling. And I was just wondering, like, you know, I know what it feels like to have busted up shoes, because at the time I did too, but I wasn't happy and smiling. So I was just wondering, like, how does this person really feel? And when we ask somebody and when we pass by, I'm like, hey, how you doing? And our response is quick, like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. It's like, are you really? And do we really allow enough time for a person to answer that question? Like, if you was to ask somebody, like, hey, how you doing today? And they say, not good. You know, I kind of feel like jumping off the edge. What would your response be to that? Like, a lot of us is not even trained or prepared to even answer that question. If somebody really came to you and was like, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, this is what I'm thinking. Like, do you feel equipped enough? Do you have the patience enough to sit and listen to what a person is going through? Because a lot of the times we are at work, we are in passing, we at a gas station, we rushing, and we don't even allow them to answer sometimes. Hey, how you doing? Okay, thank you. It's like we already done answered for them. And it's like, so I wrote that poem at 17. And so when constructing No Freedom, it was like, I want to put the first piece that I wrote when I was 17 to show this is where I was at. And towards the end is like trying to get to this place of peace at the end of the book. And then Closed Caskets kind of picked that up. We're diving more deeper into the personal. So the first chapter in No Freedom was like, this is my personal. The second chapter is like, this is my community. The third chapter is like, now I'm angry. And then the fourth is like, this is the historical context. And then the fifth chapter is like, okay, I can't know freedom until I know peace within myself. And then Closed Caskets is kind of like picking up after that. Like, well, this is what it looks like. You have to face the inevitable, you know. You gotta walk towards it brave and bold and just say what needs to be said. So this was my attempt of like trying to say what I felt like needed to be said, but I still feel like it was a lot of blockage there internally. And I think it's starting to open up a little bit more. You're gonna see a lot more of the Hebrew language and me and diving into that, because the more I uncover that, the more I start seeing more truth and more I start uncovering more lies about like who we are, what's going on in the world, and how to approach things and things like that. So I'm still studying, but I'm just trying to figure out the best way for me to articulate myself as a poet and as a writer.
Yeah, so what is next for you? I mean, you've done so many different genres. You've done plays and movies and poetry. Are you continuing with poetry, or what's next?
I think I'm gonna continue with poetry for sure. Continue with poetry, and I want to dive more into the storytelling. This was my first time with Closed Caskets, like attempting to take real life people and recall situations that I had with them and try to document it in a story format. Like, I've written plays, so writing a story like for the stage is one thing, but to like try to write a story poetically off of real people is like it's challenging, because you don't want to offend no one, you don't want to put too much out there. But I'm the type of I'm kind of blunt, but with dealing with people, I had to learn how, like, not sugarcoat, but how do I say this in a way that people don't feel like you know what I mean, like putting their business out there, but I'm telling the truth, I'm telling stories, I'm talking about healing, I'm talking about a mindset that may or may not be suitable for us to live by anymore. And so it's like, I'm gracious that my father was okay with me, you know, telling that story. But it's other stories that I would like to tell that incorporates like real life situations, and that I want to use for like healing purposes. So I have a few more stories that I want to do. They may be like play format, or they may just be like, little fiction tales where it's like 10-page stories where I just write it, and then, may turn it into an album, may turn it into a movie, a short film, may turn it into an audio book. I got like at least 10 of those brainstormed already. It's just now just like, which one do I want to write first? Because I love all of them so much in my mind, but I know it's going to take a lot of time and attention to write out these stories and then build it into something bigger. Definitely want to keep writing poetry. And whatever else come from it, I'm ready for whatever else come from it.
I think I speak for everybody in saying that, we're ready to hear what else you have. 'Cause, I love it. And I'm sure everybody else here does too. I have another question in the chat about the title of Close Caskets. So how did you arrive at the title?
I had wrote a poem in Closed Caskets called Closed Caskets. And it was one of those alliteration type. As you can hear, some of the pieces that I have in here have this alliteration challenge that I gave myself of like, how can I pick a letter in the alphabet and tell a story using only that letter to see how far I can go? And one of the pieces I have is called Closed Caskets. And it went, because crack cocaine causes color cities, crimson currents, contributing cyclical comma counts, compiling corner store counterlights, closed caskets, capturing choice choirs, carrying cathedrals, because constant casualties crush color communities cheer. Cold, cold, cold. So in that piece, I used the term closed caskets, and then I called the piece Closed Caskets. And then Carla was like, the original title of the book was going to be The Times We Lived, which I was going to have beautiful little stories and parables about life and stuff like that. And then as Carla was reading the collection, she was like, I don't think The Times We Lived actually captures exactly what you're saying or what you could be saying. I feel like this poem you have in here called Closed Caskets is more appropriate. And I kind of wrestled with that because I'm like, closed caskets means something that has already happened. And then I thought about closed caskets as like, this is something that's current, like someone may have died, but it takes like at least a week and a half, 2 weeks for the burial. And so it's like that grieving process. And I look at our 400 years as a long grieving process. We haven't had the opportunity to say, okay, it's done. Now let's heal. And I feel like everything that I'm talking about, unfortunately, I shouldn't even have to be talking about it. It shouldn't be applying to whatever happened Sunday, whatever happened last year. It still applies. And so I feel like closed caskets is always a call and action of sitting still, being quiet, silencing the noise, and just approaching what is still not buried or unearthing things that needs to be properly put to rest. And I feel like us as Black folks haven't had the opportunity, so we still in that period of watching another body and now going to another funeral, and tomorrow it'll be the same thing type thing. So yep.
Thank you for that. I mean, I love the idea of the different, well, I'm going back to what you first said about the, using writing poems based on the first letters. I love the B. Do you have a favorite letter?
I love the B because that was the first one. It kind of sparked it all. It was like unintentional. I was posting on Instagram a while ago, and I was trying to put like a poetic caption, and it was like me performing. I had on all black, and it was like at a banquet or something like that, a fundraiser for, I think it's called the Innocent Project or something like that, where they fundraise for a lot of folks, men and women who have been wrongfully incarcerated. They go out there and do the work as lawyers and spokespersons on behalf of them. So we was performing, and someone captured, the person at the venue captured me, and it was like a sea of white folks, and it was just me performing, walking through the crowd, and the picture looked so beautiful. And I was just like, the caption on my Instagram was like, being born Black, bearing blues by brothers buried beneath bridges, or something like that, or being born Black, bearing blues, something like that. And I was like, wow, that's dope. And I'm like, I want to see if I can turn that into a poem. So later on that night, I did being born Black, bearing blues by brothers buried beneath bridges, burned bodies belittled before becoming better, Beyond Broken But Believing. And that was the first one that I had put in the book of No Freedom. And then after I published that one, I was like, nah, I want to see if I can go longer. And then I added on to it. And then, so this is in Closed Caskets is like a part 2 or a part 3. And then all of the other alliteration pieces came like kind of after that, accidental.
True writer, true writer.
I think my favorite one will be Telephone, the thinking the thoughts that trauma teaches the thinking, because I feel like that has been the hardest one for me to read, and I'm determined to memorize that, because I know once I memorize it, the way I'm gonna perform it is gonna be like very magnetic. So it's like thinking the thoughts. I was at a flea market, and I was sitting there just looking at a lot of us just walking by, buying stuff, Black-owned businesses trying to sell, and I was just like, wow, I'm like, a lot of us are still thinking the thoughts that trauma teaches the thinking. And I was like, that was just like a thought I had. And I'm like, oh, I got to write this down. And then I'm like, let me see how long I can go with this one. And then it turned out to being that. And I'm like, so I think B is my favorite piece. And then Telephones is going to be my second.
Well, I can't believe, your work is amazing, and it's already an hour. It went by so quick. And thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. And we put information about where you can get your book in the chat. You can also check out your book at Berkeley Public Library, San Francisco Public Library. Also check it out on Pacific Raven Press, and I also believe it's on Amazon.
Yes.
Yes. So I think with that, we'll close out our meeting unless anybody else wants to say some final words. No? Well, thank you so much, Donté. I'm so looking forward to following your career, reading more of your books. This one is amazing. I encourage everybody to read your books, check out your films, your plays. And thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Great to tap in, Donté. Love from Puerto Rico.
Oh, my brother.
Yee.
All righty, guys. See you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Loved it.
Powerful.
Thank you.